Hooray for Hollywood. As God is my witness, I'll never be hungry again. Oh, hello there. I am Stan the Movie Man, and this is my review of Alien Covenant. It stars Michael Fassbender, Katherine Waterston, Billy Crudup, also Danny McBride, Damian Bashir, and more. It is the story of a group of colonists headed to a planet far off from Earth. The entire crew is in cryo sleep with the exception of an android, or a synthetic as he is referred to, called Walter, played by Michael Fassbender. The ship runs into a storm from a recently ignited star, and that causes damage throughout the ship. So Walter wakes up the primary crew, who is in charge of taking care of and landing the ship once they arrive at the planet. But one of them dies inside his cryogenic pod, and that was the captain of the ship, played temporarily anyway by James Franco. Now that puts Orem in charge. Orem, played by Billy Crudup, and Daniels, played by Katherine Waterston, is the original captain's widow, but she is second in command. There's some tension on board the ship about how to handle things now that they are awake 7 years before they're supposed to be. And as they're working on the ship, repairing it, they pick up fragments of a transmission from somewhere. They finally track it down to a nearby planet that should not have had any life on it, because they had scanned all the planets within range of their travel and found this first planet that they were headed to. But this planet, once they scan it, turns out it's much more conducive to life than their original destination. Orem decides to land and investigate. Not only where the transmission is coming from, but the viability of this being their colonization target. And once they arrive, things go pretty horribly wrong right from the start. I'll leave it at that. Alien Covenant, of course, is the sequel to Alien Prometheus, and will eventually turn into a trilogy if Ridley Scott gets his way. Ridley Scott, of course, the director. And this movie, Ridley Scott likes to make dark, complicated, somewhat convoluted, densely plotted stories, and we get that in Alien Covenant, and that was to some extent the problems a lot of people had with Prometheus. I enjoyed it, but this one is darker, and it's more in line with the original Alien to an extent. But there's a lot of questions that get put forth in Covenant that to some extent get answered, but a lot of them don't. Things that maybe just came to my mind but wouldn't come to yours. Everyone's an individual and they see things their own way. The movie is pretty entertaining, but it's so densely plotted that sometimes it's impenetrable, something along those lines. And it just, I think sometimes it likes to, stick in the knife and twist it a little bit and then pull it out, as far as the audience goes, and without really ever giving the audience a truly satisfactory answer to many things that the movie puts forth. It's good to see the original Alien again, and in its original, or the original form as we saw it the first time in the original film. And there's a bit of a twist that comes fairly early that I don't want to give away, but it is something that directly ties Covenant to Prometheus and gives you a better idea about how one of those characters in the first film, Prometheus, how just evil this character is. And I assume if there is a third one, this character will continue on with the plot that is apparently being put forth. Since this trilogy is a prequel to the original Alien, then I assume we'll eventually land on that familiar stormy planet and see that ship with the pilot with the chest burst, out of it. The movie's pretty gory, very bloody, and it wants to be a thriller and it wants to be a horror movie. And if they had stuck with one or the other, it might have been better. But the characters are somewhat interchangeable and generic, and it's really just a body count movie for the most part. I'm a little torn on what kind of rating to give it. I think I'm going to give it 3 stars, but that could change. If I see it again, I might decide it's a 4-star or a 2-star. But there's just the movie is so dense and so twisty in a way that it just almost defies you to like it. And I'm sort of in the middle ground. 3 stars for Alien Covenant. Go to StanTheMovieMan.com to read my complete review, which hopefully will make more sense than this review did. You can follow me on Twitter at MovieManStan, and you can send emails to me, stanthemovieman@comcast.net. Till next time, toodles.